It's Monday, 12th of December 2021. Greetings from Rwanda's capital Kigali. Heads up on our tonight's edition. President Paul Kagame has again reiterated that the inequity that has been evident in the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines across the world is a reminder that Africans need to do what is necessary to save lives on the continent without having to wait for foreign assistance. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uziel Ndagijimana, assured MPs that the $250 million that has been added to the Economic Recovery Fund will see new projects created, which will contribute to achieving the target of 10.2% economic growth rate. A very good evening to you and glad to have you join us on RTV News. My name is Sam Kalisa. To kick it off, President Paul Kagame has again reiterated that the inequity that has been evident in the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines across the world is a reminder that Africans need to do what is necessary to save lives on the continent without having to wait for foreign assistance. The Rwandan head of state made the observation on Monday morning while officially opening the two-day meeting on partnerships for vaccine manufacturing in Africa that is convening here in Kigali. Serge Nore kickstarts tonight's bulletin with this report.
It is now almost 2 years since the COVID-19 pandemic first began its rampage across the world, and it has become another reminder for developing nations that they cannot rely on developed ones to look out for their interests, something President Paul Kagame once again pointed out while opening the gathering in Kigali.
Africa's challenges during the COVID pandemic in securing timely access to tests, therapeutics, and vaccines have served as a constant reminder that we need to be doing things for ourselves. This is not a new problem, but a crisis of public health is literally a matter of life and death. Africa must therefore build manufacturing and scientific capacity with a sense of urgency. We can and must do something new and different. And when I say we need to do things for ourselves, that does not mean acting alone. Vaccine research and production is fundamentally a global enterprise. We therefore have to work in partnership with each other as Africa and also with key partners around the world. That requires not only funding, but also, and even more importantly, trust.
The figures showing the distribution of the vaccines globally paint a sobering picture that further emphasizes the need for Africans to step up and meet the challenge head-on.
More than 80% of the world's vaccines have gone to G20 countries. Low-income countries, most of them in Africa, have received just 0.6% of all vaccines.
In October, Rwanda and Senegal signed agreements with the biotechnology company BioNTech that will enable the two countries to manufacture their own vaccines, including those of malaria, COVID-19 and tuberculosis. South Africa, Morocco and Egypt and other countries on the continent have also been pursuing other avenues to give them similar capabilities. Such efforts are helping Africa to push towards the goal of manufacturing 60% of the vaccines she needs by the year 2040.
The way we shall fight the next pandemic on the continent will be clearly different from the way we are fighting this pandemic because of the remarkable progress that we are making in the vaccine production. As a virologist for 32 years, let me paint a picture of what might face us in future if we do not do this right. Imagine a virus that emerged with a case fatality rate of even 4 to 5%, and has the transmissibility rate, what we call the R naught of this current virus, which is the SARS-CoV-2. And if we have to wait for vaccines to arrive at the rate at which we are currently dealing with this pandemic, it will eliminate all of us. So it is truly, we are here today to continue to define the future of our continent and our survival.
99% of the vaccines Africans use are imported, and in 2019 the continent spent $16 billion paying for them. There is no question that money like that will significantly benefit Africans when they are able to manufacture their own vaccines.
Because of this terrible pandemic, an opportunity has been created to fundamentally change the pharmaceutical production landscape on our continent. This window will not stay open forever. Now is the time to act decisively and quickly together as Africa and also globally.
To attain the goal of manufacturing 60% of the vaccines needed by 2040, African countries will have to be able to produce at least 30% in less than 10 years. That figure is currently at just 1%.
Moving ahead to economic matters, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uziel Ndajijimana, assured MPs that the $250 million which has been added to the Economic Recovery Fund will see new projects created, which will contribute to achieving the target of 10.2% economic growth rate. Minister Uziel also noted that even businesses that were not reached in the first phase of implementing the recovery plan will be considered in the second phase. We do have more. While addressing the General Assembly on the current state of the country's economy as the world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uziel Ndajijimana, noted that although the country's economy declined by 3.4% below zero in 2020, the country's GDP rose by 3.5% in the first quarter of 2021 and by 20% in the second quarter. The 100 billion Rwandan francs Economic Recovery Fund that was established to support the most affected businesses by COVID-19 has been utilized at 90% rate, which played a big role in boosting the country's economy. This program started in June 2020. We wanted to assess the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on businesses in comparison with 5 months before the pandemic. Because the recovery funds were not enough, we wanted to help those who were strongly affected. Also, we wanted to prevent those who would use the pandemic to seek help. Yet even before the pandemic, the businesses were not stable. With the distribution of the 100 billion Rwandan francs Economic Recovery Fund, 141 hotels were given 50 billion Rwandan francs, 7.5 billion were channeled to the transport sector, small and medium enterprises were given 10.3 billion Rwandan francs, while 3,977 small business owners were given 3.8 billion Rwandan francs. However, MPs expressed concern that there was an uneven distribution of the recovery funds. It looks like funds were distributed to big traders only. I want to know how the recovery fund helped or is going to help a casual worker or a fruit vendor in Nyabugogo market. To date, another $250 million equivalent to 250 billion Rwandan francs were added to the recovery fund. 150 billion Rwandan francs will be invested in creating new business projects to contribute to job creation and boost economic growth, according to Minister Uziel. The first set of funds were meant to help businesses stay on the right track, but currently we have the capacity to help affected businesses, but also fund new and already existing investment projects so that they can contribute to the country's economic recovery and growth, because that's what this recovery is meant for. Statistics by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning also indicate that the country's GDP is projected at 10.2% this year, with a 7.2% growth in 2022, 7.9% in 2023, and 7.5% in 2024. According to the ministry, the implementation of the 2021-2022 budget has reached 99%, and the details will be highlighted in the revised draft budget, which will be announced this month. From economic matters to justice matters now, the Supreme Court has urged residents to avoid giving corruption in order to get justice, for it's their right. This was mentioned during a press conference that included other institutions in the justice sector to mark the start of the Judicial Week 2021 that has started this Monday. More with Ghislaine Mugwaneza.
The Supreme Court explains that there are people that ask for bribes from residents, telling them that it will be given to the judges in order to follow up on their cases. Institutions from the justice chain have also said that despite the laws punishing those convicted of corruption, the problem has persisted.
There's no level you can find that has no one suspected of corruption. Rwanda National Police has mentioned those in their level. RIB has already fired more than 30 people in 3 years due to corruption.
Uyu munsi icyerekezo kiri muri vision 2050 nuko Rwanda.
Today, the country's 2050 vision looks to make Rwanda the top country globally when it comes to fighting corruption. Today, we are on the 49th position with 54%. We are fourth in Africa and first in East African community. That is not where we want to stagnate, because we still have a step to make forward, because the first country worldwide has 88%. In Africa, the first one has 66%, and there are other countries that have 88%. You understand there is a big difference. The Honorable Chief Justice Dr. Faustin Zijayo says corruption delays the country's development. He has urged the residents not to fall in the trap of those asking for bribe.
Twese tugomba gukangurira abaturarwanda yuko serivisi bagenerwa n'amategeko bagomba kuzihabwa ku buntu.
What we remind all residents is that every service provided for them is free of charge. No one should ask for money from them while lying to them that he or she will convince the judges regarding the decision to be made, and all other lies we know. I want the media to help us explain to local residents that justice services are free and it's their right to get them. If it is needed for them to pay a certain court fee for any service related to justice, we know the fee. The ministerial order of 2018 sets those fees. In the primary courts, it's 10,000 Rwandan francs. The intermediate courts, that cost is 20,000 Rwandan francs. Commercial courts cost 20,000 Rwandan francs. For the commercial high courts and high courts, that cost is 40,000 Rwandan francs. And in the appeals court, it's 50,000 Rwandan francs. You know, in the Supreme Court, there's no fee charged from the residents to submit their cases.
Gukirenga nta mafaranga atangwa yakwa y'amagarama yakwa abaturarwanda kugira ngo batange ibirego byabo.
The Supreme Court has started a week-long judicial awareness campaign in collaboration with other institutions from the justice chain in Rwanda. The Judicial Week is under the theme entitled Justice in the Lead Against Corruption. Ghislaine Mugwaneza, RTV News.
Thank you, Ghislaine. Moving ahead, still on the fight against corruption, some members of the general public are complaining about the service delivery pertaining to land construction permits. Officials in the Office of the Ombudsperson and the Organization of Transparency International Rwanda are calling upon all Rwandans, especially service providers, to work together to eradicate corruption loopholes when it comes to building permits. Olive Nete has the report.
Saidi Karambizi is one of the residents that have been facing poor service delivery on land services, and he requests the government to follow up on this issue, which sometimes results in bribery.
It's been 3 years searching for documents for my land. They asked me to provide a document showing that I'm the owner of the land. I searched for it, and the cell leader signed on the document. When I went to the sector, they kept on sending me back home. asking me to come the next day, while telling me the person in charge of land service is not available. They also asked for additional documents. I went back and brought them. But they do not clearly tell me what is the problem. I think they want bribes. The local authority may ask you to find him in a bar for him to sign for you. He told me to bring a pen for him to sign and then told me to talk to the barman.
The chairperson of Transparency International Rwanda, Marie Makile Ingabire, has noted that sometimes residents also influence corruption by giving bribes to obtain services. And she also points out that they should be aware that doing so negatively affects them too. There should be investigations on any corruption activity. Most of the times, such activities are not investigated. Sometimes, the resident is the one who gives a bribe to receive a certain service illegally, and they do not consider that it will negatively affect them, because in the end, the people who took the bribe are the same ones who will demolish your house. Officials in the office of the ombudsperson have noted that poor service delivery always opens up opportunities for corruption to take hold, resulting in problems and behavior that is contrary to Rwandan values. The Minister of Local Government, Jean-Marie Vianney-Gatabazi, points out that the residents should know that penalties not only concern people who ask for bribes, but also to those who give them.
A citizen should understand that he or she has the right to any service without paying illegally for it, but also have to understand that if they give bribes, they are actually paying for something they are entitled to, and when caught, they too are held accountable. Corruption concerns two people, both the receiver and the giver, and if the issue is followed upon, both of them will carry the blame.
The Office of the Ombudsperson notes that research done by RGB showed that 65.7% of people appreciate the way land services are provided, while 33.3% criticized them. And the report also showed that land registration services received an approval rate of 62.9%, with disapproval at 37.1%. Olive Nete, RTV News.
The price hike of LPG cooking gas has caught the attention of the government, and the Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente on Friday 3rd December promised Rwandans to have got the solution within 10 days from then. Betty Mutoni reports.
With 5% of households in Rwanda using cooking gas, consuming more than 4,000 tons per month, there has been complaints about rising prices.
The cost of cooking gas is rapidly increasing, yet people's income is not. If someone is paid 30,000 francs and cooking gas is increasing at this rate, how will we be able to cook? And yet, the use of charcoal is being discouraged.
The impact is obvious. When their price increases, they disrupt our businesses. The gas I have now cost me 15,000, but it is almost done, and I'm now worried because it is now at 17,000. Currently, the country's storage capacity allows for the gas reserves of just 5 days, when they should be for at least 4 to 6 months.
We could ask or advocate for the government to sit and see these challenges for the consumers, so that they can import more gases and have a store in Rwanda, about a store for 6 months, so that we can have day to day, we can board the gas easily, and the gas could not increase as it is now.
Director General of the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority, Dr. Ernest Nsabimana, had told RBA that plans are underway to construct storage facilities in the rural sector of Gasabo district, which will be able to hold between 8 to 9 million kilograms of gas, giving reserves of between 2 to 3 months.
Concerning storage facilities, there is a concern that the government and the private sector is discussing to come up with a solution as soon as possible by constructing a storage facility at Rusororo, and also to encourage the private sector to invest in it.
The Director General of the Association of Importers of Petroleum Products says that the association is ready to sacrifice in order to increase their client base because that is how they will make long-term profits.
Really, it is not good for us if the price is high, because if the price is high, automatically the consumers, our customers, automatically decrease. So it's the reason why we're pushing to make sure the price is not high, because we enjoy the environment when the price it is low, where our customers are happy. So means if I'm happy with the price, also we get more customers. Because if today some of them they starting changing to the charcoal, automatically it will affect us.
On Friday, 3rd December, Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente, while addressing the legislatures on the status of vaccines, he was asked about the gas price hikes and had this to say.
On the matter that recently became evident of gas prices climbing from around 800 francs per kilo to more than 1,300 francs, I want to assure you that we are going to deal with it, and within 10 days the solution will have been found. We first studied the value chain of cooking gas, right from where it is imported from, all the way until it gets to Rwanda, how it should be regulated, the profits everyone involved is to get, not too excessive to the profit of it being a burden to the final consumer. The detailed figures will have been compiled within 10 days starting today. So I just want to let you know that we are aware of the issue and it is being addressed.
Figures from the central bank made public in November shows that during 2021 fiscal year, overall rise in energy costs in the country actually slowed down compared to the previous fiscal year, but that was largely attributed to things like charcoal and firewood, with the figure falling to 3.8%, down from 6%. The sharp rise hike in 2020 had been because of outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. Betty Mutoni reporting for RwandaTV News.
And moving ahead, both chambers in Rwanda's parliament have now concluded the first ordinary session of the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Senate President Dr. Auguste Iyamuremye has noted on some of the achievements of the Senate during the first ordinary session.
Sena yakomeje gushyira mu bikorwa ibijyanye n'inshingano yayo.
The Senate continued to stick to its fundamental principles in all it did. It oversaw the approval of appointed officials, government oversight, holding discussions with government representatives, the analysis of reports presented by the country's commissions and government institutions. There are also visits carried out by senators going to communities, and while doing all that, the fundamental principles are respected.
The Chamber of Parliament, the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies also highlighted what has been achieved by the Chamber during the ordinary session.
Mu rwego kandi rw'inshingano zo gutora amategeko twakwishimira ko muri iki gihembwe ari bwo hemejwe ishingiro ry'umushinga.
When it comes to the responsibility of voting on laws, we should commend that during this ordinary session the organic law governing practices of government oversight was approved, and the fact that it includes key changes that will be beneficial in carrying out those duties. It was started by a task force of parliamentarians and is still under review by the chairpersons of the commissions. But let me take this opportunity to thank all of you parliamentarians for your contributions in this regard. Honorable Vice Presidents and Deputies, during this session, in line with our government oversight responsibilities, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry provided variable explanations for the problems that became evident in the program of community processing centers, and the General Assembly was satisfied by her explanations and the measures she outlined to right the wrongs. The Assembly also asked her to provide the necessary documents that will facilitate the Parliament to follow up on the implementation of those measures and assess their effectiveness.
ko azafasha umutwe w'abadepite gukurikirana uko izo ngamba zikemura ibibazo byagaragaye.
The ordinary sessions of both chambers begin on the same day and lasts for 2 months. Extraordinary sessions can also be convened, but they cannot exceed 15 days. And on behalf of the entire news and technical team that made it happen, thank you very much for watching Rwanda Television News. My name is Sam Kalisa, wishing you a safe evening and a fruitful week ahead.